Hey everyone, I hope you're doing well. I hope the season is treating you okay. It's cold, it's dark, there's corona, there's lockdown, you have your family visiting. A lot of reasons to be bummed out. A lot. So the sun will come out tomorrow, is what I want to tell you. Unless you're in a country with a harsh winter, and then no, it won't. It will not come out tomorrow. So, the New York Times came out with a video called How the Police Killed Breonna Taylor, and it was a visual investigation. As in, they had some 3D artists come out with a recreation of what happened that day. And I guess it's interesting just to look at and observe. Not too many new things were revealed. I do find it interesting what they chose to omit from this video, because you have to understand the New York Times want to be in lockstep with the rioters. They think that people who complain about Breonna Taylor are correct, as in she shouldn't have died. And they pretend to be neutral, but they're not. They're not journalists. They're covering this with a bias. And the bias is they can't understand why the cops would shoot back at people shooting at them. I mean, this is not that interesting of a story. You shoot at cops, you're going to be killed. Now, I realize Breonna Taylor didn't shoot at the cops, but she stood next to the drug dealer who was shooting at the cops. So anything of interest when discussing this story and what this story symbolizes, it needs to be couched in an understanding that there are people who want this story to represent a certain thing. As in, fuck the cops, the world is racist, poor blacks, or hooray for black women, any number of ridiculous things that have nothing to do with the facts of what happened in this case. And if those facts don't align with the beautiful telling of this story that they want to tell, then they will omit them, fudge them, or ignore them, and hope you don't see what they're doing. So in this case, the New York Times, they hired an Irish guy to add a little class to it, you know. It's not just an American accent. No, the New York Times got an Irish dude. Some Mick is going to be doing the voiceover, as if that's going to help.
Do not walk by yourself. This is our city. This is our town.
For months in Kentucky, residents outraged by the killing of Breonna Taylor campaigned for the police officers who shot her to face charges.
Commonwealth of Kentucky versus Brett Hankison.
In September, a grand jury investigation indicted one officer for shooting into a neighbouring apartment, and no one for killing Taylor.
Is that the decision of the grand jury? I will grant the motion and assign bond in the amount of $15,000 full cash and issue a warrant.
Is that it?
Is that the only chocolate?
It can't be it. It can't be it.
Breonna Taylor is an extraordinarily unremarkable human being. She did not achieve anything. What was her big achievement? She graduated high school and she had a job. I mean, she also was a drug dealer. So a drug dealer who hung out with and bailed out other drug dealers and rented a car that a guy got assassinated in. I mean, she's profoundly unimpressive as a human being. So why we are acting like this woman deserves this attention is kind of the whole thing. To me, that's the biggest takeaway. Who gives a shit about Breonna Taylor? And fuck yourself for ignoring every other person who has been murdered, if that's the criteria, if that's what we're worried about. Oh my God, somebody was murdered? Well, here's thousands of white people who were murdered that you haven't done a single thing about. You haven't mentioned them, you didn't research it, you're not bitching to anyone about it. You don't care because it doesn't fit your story.
No one has been held accountable. This is injustice, and this is the start clock for the next level of our protest.
What happened in the final minutes of Breonna Taylor's life? A full telling of that story has been impeded because none of the 7 police officers who raided her apartment used body cameras, a violation of police policy.
No, it's not a violation. They don't have body cams in that area, in that district. That police department doesn't do it. It's not a violation.
But with the recent release of thousands of documents and images collected during 3 investigations, the Times initiated a fresh examination of the case. We used crime scene photos to create a precise model of Taylor's apartment. We forensically mapped out and retraced the...
I like how none of this will mean or amount to anything. The facts of the case are still the same facts. But it looks cool. Yeah, you hired a 3D guy to come up with this. Okay, we'll take a look. So here are the 7 dudes. 7 dudes. White guys. What Tariq Nasheed would call race soldiers. Yeah, they showed up at this apartment. And, okay, you know what's interesting? When they talk about the police announced themselves, they said, we're the police, we have a search warrant, which they clearly did do. They never mentioned that these 7 guys all said that that's what they did. They all said that. So, I mean, there are people that go, well, you know, they interviewed people and some of those people were asleep and they didn't hear them. They only heard the gunshots. They never add these 7 witnesses who all said, yeah, we said we're the cops, we have a search warrant when we knocked. So I just love the unspoken thing that people are accusing these 7 men of a conspiracy to lie about whether or not they said we're the cops. So just be clear. If that's what you're saying, say it. You don't have a case for it, but say it. Say that they are all willing to risk their lives, their livelihood, their ability to feed their families off lying about whether or not they said we're the cops.
Forensically mapped out and retraced the first bullet fired by Taylor's boyfriend and the 32 bullets that police shot in return.
Damn. Hey, Kenneth, might want to rethink shooting at the cops. You fired your one shot, you did hit. I mean, you know, incredible job on the accuracy front. It was the greatest warning shot ever to enter a femoral artery, but you got lit up. And the problem was, you see these shots coming in at the other angle, the perpendicular shots? Yeah, that's Hankinson. Hankinson is the guy who got in trouble and was fired and arrested for endangering the lives of the people in the other apartment buildings because he was just shooting a little bit too loose and free. He just basically thought he was in a mob movie and this was a hit. And the dude was a bit of an asshole, so he got what was coming to him. But keep in mind, he missed. He didn't hit Breonna Taylor.
Through windows, walls and ceilings. Using interviews officers gave to investigators, we charted their movements as they carried out the raid. And we
Look at all those brave white men. Look at that.
analysed hours of 911 calls, grand jury proceedings, and footage by the SWAT team that arrived after the shooting.
Man, do you hear us?
Members of the grand jury have accused Kentucky's Attorney General, Daniel Cameron, of shielding the officers involved from homicide charges.
Our investigation found that Mattingly and Cosgrove were justified in their use of force.
Well, this is the first little bit of troubling news for the woke army, and it's the fact that the Attorney General of Kentucky, Daniel Cameron, speaks incredibly well for a black guy, and he doesn't think that they're guilty. And he says, we've studied this inside and out, and these guys did nothing wrong. So suck on that, all of you people out there looking for some cause to get behind, to justify your existence. Suck on it. Now, what did they do to this guy? They threw him under the bus and essentially kicked him out of the black race, calling him every name in the book, saying, oh, you're a traitor because you stuck to the facts. You adhered to a set of principles higher than racial tribalism, and therefore you're the enemy. You're the messenger of the ugly reality that it was Kenneth Walker's fault why Breonna Taylor is dead, and that they had every right to have that search warrant.
Boom, 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 boom.
Sergeant Mattingly may have been justified in returning fire when he's fired upon, but our new analysis paints a more complicated picture.
Complicated. Wait a minute. Complicated. Let me translate for the woke Zoomers out there. When they hear complicated, they're being led softly into the realm of understanding reality. As in, okay, I know you're ready to say fuck the cops and arrest the cops who killed Breonna Taylor. It's a little bit complicated. Yeah, it's like that Facebook setting. Not in a relationship, but it's complicated. The truth is, did you hear what he just said? He just said Mattingly was totally justified in shooting back, as were the rest of them. I mean, aside from Hankinson, who got a little bit too crazy with it, which is neither here nor there, he didn't kill her. So they're going to tell you it was the bullets of Mattingly and the other guy that came in through the door. They're the ones that killed Breonna. But yes, this hail of bullets that came back your way is the glorious, totally justified, and perfectly understandable display of force that the cops had every right to do when you shoot at them.
About how this raid was compromised from beginning to end. We'll outline the flawed intelligence and tactical mistakes of a hodgepodge team of officers. Their failure to properly announce their presence at Taylor's.
They didn't fail to properly announce. That's a lie. You're telling a lie. Oh, speaking of lies, you're not going to show us Kenneth Walker sitting right there on his knees. He lied right there and told them Breonna was the one that shot at them. You're not going to mention that he lied right there. on a huge issue. Oh, I didn't shoot, it was Breonna. I mean, that is dastardly level stuff. But if you don't recognize that he lied right there about that huge issue, and by the way, why did he lie? Why say it was Breonna doing the shooting? Well, because
if you'd like to watch the rest of this video, it's over at censored.tv. Go over there and sign up, but be sure to use the coupon code AIU to get 20% off. See you there.